What's up, guys, and welcome back to the infamous project. The sun's going down, and well, man, I'm so close to trying to fire this motor up for the first time. Got lots of the last bits of wiring done. I just need to do the last little bit of the fuel system. Now, I've already gone ahead and put fuel in the tank. I've done the last little bit of wiring here, and this is just all temporary wiring just to make sure that our proof of concept and that everything works and that we followed all of our lovely instructions here. So this is all brake pedal circuit. So we actually need two things to happen when the brake switch is engaged. We need something that tells the computer that the brake pedal is on and sends 12 volts. And then we need something else that actually is grounded until the brake pedal is pressed, and then it breaks the ground circuit. So really what I have here is I have a backwards relay. When you guys would be used to wiring these up for electric fans or some sort of accessory, normally 87 here, this blue wire, it'd be, this would go to your fuel pump if that's what you were wiring, or it'd go to your electric fan if that's what you're wiring. And typically you would never use 87A, which is the middle wire. Normally you cut this guy off, but in this case we actually need it. What this does is the computer needs to know when the brake pedal is on versus off, because it's actually going to tell the torque converter whether it should lock up or not. So important wiring to have. And this is our fuel pump wire. It's literally run on the outside here to the fuel pump. And then we have two wires here, which is pretty much 12 volts ignition on, which is going to power up the control module that's in the engine bay. And then this guy, when we touch that to 12 volts, it should crank the starter over, and we should be able to fire this guy up. So I'm still waiting for a lower radiator hose, and I haven't hooked up the power steering yet. So I actually need to pop off this main accessory belt because I don't want it all spinning with accessories not hooked up, because the water pump's trying to pump and there's nothing inside. We don't want that. And obviously with the power steering not hooked up, we don't want to potentially puke power steering everywhere or run the power steering pump dry. So I'm gonna pull this belt off, and that way when I do fire it up, then we don't have to worry about things trying to circulate. So that's all that's left. I do need a coupler here on the MAF. I might literally just tape this on for now, just so that it's somewhat sealed, because I don't have this size coupler laying around. Again, all proof of concept, so we can try and get this thing fired up. And then finally, we need to hook up that fuel line going to the fuel rail there. So I'm gonna show you guys what we're gonna do there. All right, so I'm gonna run you guys through some of the fuel stuff that needs to be done. And my biggest delay was actually this fitting right here. And all it is a quick connect that has a barbed end on it, so that when you put the nylon line on, it's not going to want to back off. And I got the little crimp on there, so everything is good to go. So this guy is going to plug into this side of this fuel filter / regulator. So that's going to be the outside. So we're going to run this up to the fuel rail. What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to slide it through this heater hose to protect the nylon line, since we're going to be going towards the front of the engine bay. And then I might even wrap on top of that just for added safety and I guess sex appeal, so to speak. And you can see here on the other side of this filter / regulator, so this is like a 2-in-1. So 25 bucks off Amazon. And what it does is it will automatically regulate our fuel pressure to 60 PSI, which is what we need for the Godzilla. And this is going to be the line coming off the main line from the fuel pump in the pickup. and this is going to go to the return line. So the Godzilla runs a returnless system. So this ultimately what it does is it allows to have fuel to be able to return through this. It'll loop back. So I'm gonna have to press these fittings onto the nylon line underneath the truck that's already dangling down there, and find a place to mount this guy that's convenient and accessible, so that when we service it, you know, just disconnect everything, throw this guy away, put a new one in place. And then we'll run this line up to our main fuel rail, and we're gonna be pretty much good to go. Okay, so welcome to the underside of the truck. Got our fuel tank mounted up here. Got a little bit of fuel in there, probably need to pour some more in. And then here's our two lines. This is 5/16 return. This is 3/8 main feed. And I got some breather tubes. I don't know if you can see those. There's one, and then there's another one over there. So I'm gonna have to come up with like a charcoal canister type deal or whatever it might be. And you know, the factory fuel lines are dangling right here. So those will probably ultimately just get removed. So what I need to do is I'm going to run these lines towards the front of the frame up there, and we will find a spot that's convenient somewhere up there, find a place to mount the filter regulator, and then we'll do the last leg up to the rail. Well, I can mount it like right here. I think that would be pretty good. I got some safe routing even if I get it on the inside of the frame rail. That's pretty much going to be the same ordeal. So I'll leave a little bit of room on the lines, but I'm going to cut them right around here. So just like flaring brake lines, tighten down on your line here. There's our main feed, guys. Our main feed, 3/8. Boom. Just like that. I love nylon. There we go. Put that in place. Run this up to our engine bay. Hopefully. Got our fuel line run and everything. And I forgot my quick disconnects at the commercial shop, which means I can't take this off without my tool, which means I've been rushing, trying to fight the sun going down. I'll try and get this thing to fire up, and I wouldn't be able to even hook up this fuel line if I wanted to. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. It'll allow me to come back, fresh set of eyes, make sure that I've gone over everything, not trying to fight the sun going down and all that good stuff. So maybe what I will do is maybe I'll put power to the ignition, and it's supposed to prime the pump. I'd love to see if it primes. You know what, we'll purge a little bit of fuel through this fuel line. We'll see if it works. And if that works, then we know we're pretty damn close. So I'm gonna pull this back down to the ground. I'll grab like a catch pan, put some power to the computer, and we'll see what happens. Let me just double check here. Ignition power, yellow and violet. I know there's 12 volts here. If I hit this, fuel pump should prime. There we go. All right, so that was hot wiring the pump, just because the other way only primes the pump. Okay, I'm not getting the starter to engage. Try a couple more grounds. Got some more work to check through, guys. Well, at least we know fuel pump and everything's working. We're getting fuel up here, so I'm gonna tape that off. We'll come back, we'll get the rail hooked up. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll get this sorted out. I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this. You're trying to work on a project, trying to fight the sun going down. You can see that beautiful sunset in the distance. I swear Texas has the best sunsets out there. But you know what? You just got to call it, step back, clean your stuff up, come back recharged, and man, we'll get this sorted out. It's probably something super simple. Not sure why that starter just doesn't want to click over, but I don't know. I'll check the grounds, and you know, we can hear everything else clicking and moving and doing stuff. So I'm sure we're really close. I'm not trying to keep you guys hanging on purpose. Completely unintentional, but you can see, and I got a mess going on here. So we'll come back, we'll get this done. We'll see you soon. Hang tight. It's the next day here, fresh set of eyes, not fighting the sun going down at the same time. I've already pulled the belt off. I actually pulled the clutch fan off because I didn't have it tightened down all the way. And that was an afterthought. So if you can imagine, I got this thing fired up and that fan was spinning, it spun itself off, potentially could have thrown blades through the radiator. So sometimes things happen for a reason. Again, you don't want to rush stuff. Now, I wasn't trying to get it started last night, and it would have been impossible without the fuel line disconnect, which I did remember to bring home today. And obviously, I would have gone over everything, but to me, it was just like, oh man, if I forgot or if it wasn't on my list, because you should always have a running list of all the things. Sometimes you put stuff in place and you're like, oh, I'm going to get back to it and I'll tighten that up. And then you forget about it. So I actually have a whole list written down on my mirror inside there. So I just kind of follow that as I go along. So that way I remember if I disconnected something that I need to hook it back up again. So I'm gonna go ahead now, get this fitting pressed on for the main fuel rail connection. That should supply our fuel. And I'm wondering if the motor wouldn't crank because I actually didn't have the brake pedal depressed. I'm curious to know if you need to have your foot on the brake in order for the motor to turn over. So we're about to find out here in a minute once I get this fitting pressed on. Guys, so I'm just going to see what is 12 volts out of this ignition here, which I believe this big fat wire should be, and it is. So if this guy sees that wire, here's some stuff turning on here. No, not getting any start. I think everything's wired up. I still, for whatever reason, can't figure out why there's no signal going to engage the starter. So I'm going to jump it from here. I've created this little lead and we're going to see if this thing won't fire up. So what we're going to do is this is going to be just our ignition on. I'm going to give this 12 volts from the ignition plug there. Once everything is turned on, we'll try cranking it over. If it fires, then great, I'll pull that. And that'll kill everything to the control pack and turn things off. I did check the transmission. It was in park. I've now put it in neutral, no change. So let's see. Okay, so we are on. Let's see. Ooh. sweet. Seriously, guys, how sweet is that? This thing sounds awesome. First startup, success. Whew, just running a little pig rich, not surprised, but there we have it. I'm gonna get a quick little video for the gram here. Man, motivating. When I was talking about project inspiration the other day, when I threw all those parts on the 93 Theft Recovery Cobra over there, that was inspiring. But this right here is motivating. So now it's like, okay, we know it runs, now we want to be able to drive it. So I need to do a few real important things. I need to get the lower radiator hose in that I've ordered so that I can get the coolant system buttoned up, because without a cooling system, I can't really let this operate very long or get up to any type of temperature, because it'll overheat quick. There's no coolant in the motor right now, and none of those lines are hooked up. So that's pretty much all you want to do on an initial fire in this case. So get the radiator hose, get the clutch fan spun and torqued down properly. We'll put the drive accessory belt back on. Then I need to do the power steering lines. And then we need to get into the brake system here. I need to figure out what this is off of. I'm actually gonna take it off and take it down to local O'Reilly's and see if they can figure it out. I've looked everywhere. I don't know if any part number is corroded off or what, but you know, definitely wanna have everything nice and fresh to go along with a nice fresh drivetrain. And from there, we'll get the sections of the exhaust welded in that need to be put in there, although it does sound pretty badass with just those 2-foot pipes coming off the exhaust manifolds, and get the drive shaft sorted out. And then it's nitty gritty, right? Like detailing, buttoning up, making sure all the wiring's good. I got to go through, rewire all the headlights, actually bolt the whole front end back down because that's all loose at the moment. But we'll get those little things done and go through the minor details, get everything cleaned up. Again, this is like an actual work truck, guys. Like, he uses this thing. He had something on the back and broke down on his way back from California. That's what spiked his interest into the Godzilla and made him go in this direction. So there you have it, guys. Really exciting stuff. Happy to share this with you, and you know, we'll get everything buttoned up here, and hopefully we'll be able to drive this one down the driveway sooner than later. So stay tuned.